It was almost the perfect crime. Some perpetrator committed murder on a scale unequaled in the history of the world. They left few clues to their identity, and they buried all the evidence under layers and layers of earth. The case has gone unsolved for years, 250 million years, that is. But after years of back-breaking labor, development of sophisticated material technologies, and collaboration amongst hundreds of scientists, we have found the fingerprints of the perpetrators and the ghastly nature of their crime. Life was flourishing on the earth about 250 million years ago. Then, during a brief window of geologic time, nearly all of it was wiped out. The Earth's greatest mass extinction looked like a scene from the dreaded apocalypse. The terrible event had been lost in the amnesia of time for eons. It was only recently that paleontologists, like hikers stumbling upon an unmarked grave in the woods, noticed a startling pattern in the fossil record. Below a certain point in the accumulated layers of earth, the rock shows signs of an ancient world teeming with life. In more recent layers, just above that point, signs of life all but vanish. Somehow, most of the life on Earth perished in a brief moment of geologic time, roughly 250 million years ago. Scientists call it the Permian-Triassic mass extinction, or the Great Dying. Not to be confused with the better-known Cretaceous Tertiary extinction that signaled the end of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Now, whatever happened during the end Permian mass extinction was much worse. No class of life was spared from the devastation. Trees, plants, lizards, proto-mammals, insects, fish, mollusks, and microbes all were nearly wiped out. Roughly 9 in 10 marine species and 7 in 10 land species vanished. Life on our planet almost came to an end. This was unprecedented in the 4.6 billion year history. Only in the 80s the paleontologists got clue of this destruction, and it took them another 40 years to find the killers behind this mass extinction. Good morning, my friends. I am Siddharth from hereticscience.com. Today we are discussing the Earth's greatest mass extinction. It took scientists another 40 years to find the killers or the killing mechanisms behind this mass extinction. No, it was not an asteroid, but a massive Siberian volcanic extrusion which caused air to become poisonous, waters to become acidic, and destabilized the planet's climate. As late as 2002, and institutions as prestigious as NASA didn't have much clue about the precise date and killers behind this mass extinction. On the contrary, the Puranas, which are thousands of years old, have this information recorded in them in great details. According to the latest paleontological analysis, the greatest mass extinction occurred 251.9 million years ago, and the prominent killers in the mass extinction were massive volcanic extrusion, acidic oceans, long droughts, and increased UV radiation. According to the Puranas, which are encyclopedias of significant events in the history of the earth and the universe. The biggest or the most severe pralaya or the mass extinction happened at the end of the reign of King Satyavrata 251.152 million years ago. The Puranic date differs from the scientific date by a mere 0.3%. Moreover, the Matsya Purana records the same killing mechanisms as those of modern science. Since the Puranas do not use years for recording large time periods, let me show you the calculation of this date from the Puranas in terms of Puranic time units. Before I show you the calculation, it is important to note that the Puranas are describing events on the plane of Bhumandala or the Purāṇic Earth, which is the higher dimensional earth all around us. We are living on a small three-dimensional projection of the higher dimensional Purāṇic Earth, also known as Bhumandala. I recommend watching my video How Einstein Saved the Vedas to see a detailed presentation on this topic. I also recommend watching a primer of Puranic time units to get yourself familiarized with the basics of Puranic chronology. So, returning to the calculation of date for the Earth's greatest mass extinction, according to the chapter 2 of Matsya Purana, King Satyavrata was the king of Bhumandala or the Purāṇic Earth towards the end of the last Manvantara. A Manvantara is a Puranic time period. Currently, we are in the 7th Manvantara or the Vaivasvata Manvantara, and King Satyavrata was meditating. He had a hunch that a terrible calamity was about to come over his kingdom, and therefore he started meditating on the Supreme Person. He meditated for 2 million years. Before, he had an interview with the Supreme Person, Matsyavatar, who told him to prepare for the upcoming cataclysm and assured him of protection. According to the Puranas, there is a massive cataclysm at the end of every Manvantara. However, according to the Supreme Person, Matsyavatar, this cataclysm was going to be exceptionally severe. Thus, according to the Puranas, there was an unprecedented disaster. There was an unprecedented disaster at the end of the 6th Manvantara. According to the Puranic references, King Satyavrata met the Supreme Person Matsyavatar during the last Satyuga of the 6th Manvantara, and the mass extinction followed shortly. Let's get a quick reminder of Puranic time units also. A Chaturyuga is a combination of Satya, Dwapara, Treta and Kali. A Manvantara is made up of 21 Chaturyugas, and a Manvantara Sandhya is a period between consecutive Manvantaras. In the following slide, you can see the solar year equivalents of these Puranic time units. These equivalents are clearly stated in the Puranas and are not meant to be interpreted in some or other way. They are clearly stated. Now, currently, we are a few thousand years into the Kali Yuga of the 28th Chaturyuga of Vaivasvata Manvantara. 28 Chaturyugas have elapsed since the beginning of Vaivasvata Manvantara. A Chaturyuga lasts 8.64 million solar years. Multiplying 28 by 8.64 million solar years yields 241.920 million years, from which we must subtract 0.864 million years, which is the duration of Kali Yuga. Thus, our current position is 241.920 41.056 million years since the beginning of Vaivasvata Manvantara, accurate to within a few thousand years. Now, there is a Sandhya between consecutive Manvantaras, also known as Manvantara Sandhya, which is 3.456 million years. Moreover, the Puranic catalysm happened 2 million years into the last Chaturyuga of the 6th Manvantara. Since a Chaturyuga is 8.64 million years long, we add another 6.64 million years to our calculation for the date. This gives the Puranic date for the mass extinction as 251.152 million years. Thus, the Puranic date for the mass extinction is a mere 0.3% different from the latest scientific dating. This constitutes remarkable, note it, remarkable concordance between the Puranic and scientific dating. Now, somebody may raise a doubt. Since scientific dates are always changing, as you can observe in this table, which shows the dating of the mass extinction over the last century, then why should we trust the scientific dating? Note this. A series of dates for a particular strata obtained over course of decades that converts step by step on a specific value could mean the scientists are on the right track in dating this stratum. However, it is possible that an unknown source of error in the radiometric dating of the PTB or the mass extinction produced spurious values over the last century despite converging on a specific value. In fact, the scientific method itself, which involves observation, experimentation, and hypotheses, is no better than the capabilities of the experimenter, which are necessarily limited. Puranic epistemology, which is based on revelation from devas or cosmic administrators. Puranic epistemology, which is based on revelation from devas or cosmic administrators, is fundamentally different. Why? Because it doesn't depend on the limited capabilities of the experimenter. Thus, the Puranas provide for the first time a fundamentally different source of knowledge for verifying scientific results. All the supporting material and references can be found on our website hereticscience.com. Please feel free to send us your comments and questions. Thank you.